Welcome to the Kim and Jerry podcast, your source for all things mortgage notes and passive real estate strategies. Whether you're considering mortgage notes as a business model or exploring passive real estate opportunities, we've got you covered. Unlocking the secrets of financial success, one mortgage note at a time. With expert insights, pro tips, and engaging conversations. Welcome to the Kim and Jerry podcast, your source for all things mortgage notes and passive real estate strategies. Whether you're considering mortgage notes as a business model or exploring passive real estate opportunities, we've got you covered. Unlocking the secrets of financial success, one mortgage note at a time. With expert insights, pro tips, and engaging conversations.
Jerry,
Hi, Kim. How are you today?
I'm good, thanks. How about you?
Very good, thanks.
Good. Welcome to another episode of the Kim and Jerry podcast. We've been having some really great topics, and I can't help but feel fueled by, the people we've been running into and talking to, and I just feel like the message of mortgage note investing is getting out there, and I'm excited that the type of topics that we talk about are relevant to people who are interested. And I think today is going to be another one of those topics where we're going to compare what a mortgage note is to real property. I know you do as well as I do. We invest in real property, and we're landlords. Some days that's a good thing, and some days not. But how that compares to investing in mortgage notes. And along the way, that will help explain and help people even understand more about what a note is, right?
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and get that conversation going. I anticipate that it'll be lively and fruitful.
And
But and fun, right? But before we get started, I just want to be able to put that disclaimer out there that we are not attorneys or CPAs or financial advisors or planners, but we are mortgage note investors, and we are here for information and education purposes only. But I'm looking forward to today's discussion. So let's get started. I'll join you along the way, but I think that what we called it, property versus paper.
yes.
And let's go ahead and give it a go.
All right. So, I love the topic, property versus paper. Between you and me, we have owned hundreds of rental properties
Yes.
all across the country. And I know personally, at one point I was at this crossroad. Do I do more rental properties or do I start doing notes? And I realized that notes was such a much better, easier investment opportunity that I just stopped buying and, started trying to figure out ways to exit property. So selling off some stuff and, I know
Buy more notes, right?
yeah, and buying more notes. I know having said that on a video, now my phone is going to blow up even more with folks saying, hey, you said on the video, you're selling stuff. You want to sell this one? Yeah. So anyway, I think it's a good topic because there are some real interesting contrasts between one type of investing and the other. Both of them are still real estate.
Right.
Fundamentally, this is about property and the ownership of property. And the difference is, where is most of the cash going for the property? So anyway, let's start by first discussing real estate investing for rental property, which is what many of the folks that may be trying to decide, what do I do, will be looking at, as opposed to, the fix and flippers and wholesalers and things like that. So to start with, when you are looking for a property to buy, you have to go out and, if you're looking for a rental property, you have to purchase the rental property.
That's right.
That's the first step. You got to, to purchase the property, you got to look at location, price, access, you know, all of those things kind of come into your world. If you're going to purchase it, how are you going to pay for it?
Right.
And what are the bank requirements in order to be able to do that? The next thing you know, you got to look at tenants. Where do you find them? How do you qualify them? And let me tell you, it doesn't matter, you're not a landlord until you have an issue with a tenant.
Right.
And I've had every issue you can possibly think of. So qualifying a tenant. And I always like to say, bad things happen to good people. So even if it's a good tenant, somebody's going to lose their job at some point.
Right.
And no matter how well you qualify them, you don't know what the family situation is going to be over the long haul and how that's going to impact you as a landlord. Maintenance. When you buy rental property, maintenance is one of those line items. It's like 10, 15, 20% of your overall budget. Trying to collect monthly payments is always a challenge. Every tenant thinks that you've never heard that excuse before. Property managers, trying to find, if you're buying something that's not anywhere near you, finding a property manager. Those are things that you got to think about. And then, what do you do? What do you do if people stop paying? What's the eviction process? Some places eviction is difficult.
Yeah.
Other places it's really easy. So those are things that are, kind of jumping out to me with, if I'm a landlord, if I own rental property, how do I manage that?
Right.
I was just thinking, I was talking about maintenance. I remember one of the first properties I bought with one of our partners here, Durrell. We bought this place, and we get a call. I think it was about 7:30 at night on a Friday night. Toilet's plugged. And, we had just bought the place. The tenants don't really know us. We're trying to set the tone. So we hop in, I think it was my truck. We drive 60 miles, fix the plugged toilet. Next Friday, 7:30, same call, same tenant. It's like, Durrell, this has to stop. I'm not going down there again next Friday because it's 60 miles each way. So 2 hours to unplug a toilet. Those are some of the many fun and exciting landlord stories that I have. And
I'm not even going to get started. I begin to take it personally at this point. They're picking on me,
Yeah. I was talking to, again, one of our investor partners about raccoons in the attic. And, he's giving me this long explanation about how you catch a raccoon in the attic.
Like you're going to do it, right?
Well, to a raccoon, this is like roses. This is filet mignon. And it's like, dude, I really don't care.
I had an issue in a crawl space not too long ago, and my contractor says, well, did you go underneath the house to see if, and the first 30 seconds of his conversation, he's asking me, am I going to go under? No, I'm not good. He said, well, get a flashlight. No, this is why you're hired. I'm telling you this so you can come out and do whatever you need to do. Because I'm not doing that part,
Yeah. Yeah. So, and I'm sure that there are a lot of other folks that are listening to this. We can laugh now in the comfort of our office.
I think that for me, I'm sorry for interrupting, but when we're talking about this, as we think about how we're going to help people understand this whole connection with mortgage notes and having property as a landlord,
Hmm.
you're going to see some of the same type of decision making that you would make for real property, that you can deploy that skill set of how you make that decision
True.
to mortgage notes, right?
True.
You said something very early on about when you purchase the property, right? I think about, because I purchased real property for being a landlord. I don't do much of it anymore because I've really got invested in mortgage notes. But I just think about the initial down payment that has to go in, because it is an investment property. So they're, the banks want you to be vested in your investment property, right? So that lump of sum of money that you're putting on a down payment uh, can be transferred, and you'll see, I'm sure, as Jerry moves on, how that can be transferred to the whole mortgage note investment more significantly. I think the benefit of that is even better than
Yeah.
putting it into the real property. So I won't take the thunder away, but I just wanted to kind of just set the mindset of people who are listening to us where we're going with this,
Yeah.
because it helped me prioritize my real estate investments
True.
as I move forward in this realm.
And it's to be a little bit more serious about it. As a landlord, as a property owner, we can laugh and we can joke about, hey, here are the things that you've gone through. I know that there are going to be a lot of folks on this that can obviously relate. They've had the water problems, the water leaks, the crazy tenants, um, you know, tenants that have passed away in your properties. What do you do? I didn't know that I had to have a procedure for what do I do if a tenant passes away. That wasn't even in my lease. What do you do?
Right.
But if you've been a landlord for long enough, that's something else that you're going to have to deal with. So I just say all of these things because folks that are listening, if you are in the real estate game, in the real estate investing world, these are the things that you're thinking about on a regular basis. This is what happens when you own the real asset. I'm going to contrast that with, let's talk about the paper. In note investing, I own the paper, you own the headache of the property. That's kind of the delineation. So in note investing, Kim was talking about, you purchased a property and you got to put the down payment down, and hopefully there are no bankers on this call. And once you put the down payment down, they ask you for 7 DNA samples.
Yeah.
And that's typically not enough.
You don't know if they're for you or against you,
Yeah.
with the relationship.
I've had banks say, well, can you prove that this is the money, that you own this money in your bank account?
Right, right.
I don't even know how to answer the question. It's my bank account.
3 months of documentation,
It's my bank account. The money's been sitting in there for 6 months. How can I prove that it's mine?
Right,
I
right.
don't know. So the difference, when I purchase a note, that's not an issue.
At all.
Nobody's going to ask me, what's my FICO score? They want to know, can I wire the money to pay for the note? If I can wire the money, they're going to sell me the note.
Right.
It's that simple. So I don't have all of those qualification type issues. Now, granted, at First Shield, we are operating at a much higher level. So some of those qualification things are actually there. They want to know that we got the lines of credit and, we've been in business for a while and all this other kind of stuff, because we're buying such large numbers of notes.
Right.
But
And as a company, that's
yeah,
a different kind of
yeah,
a different kind of a transaction. But
absolutely.
as an individual investor, you don't incur those type of those kind of scrutinies that you would
True.
normally get as buying real property.
True. And, just to kind of continue on the whole getting a mortgage thing. And this is kind of where this real property note really connects. So you go out and you buy your property, you go to closing. That's where the note was created.
Yes.
When you sat down at closing, when you bought that rental property, you signed a mortgage and a promissory note. That's the paper that we're talking about. So
Right.
you've seen the paper, you're aware of the paper, you know the paper. If you own 50 properties, you have 50 mortgages and 50 promissory notes. And even though you went to the same bank every time to take out those loans, I own one of them. Bank of America owns one. There are other note investors that own some, because after you took out the loan, you got a letter that said the bank had sold the loan. We bought
Right.
the loan.
Right.
So that's how the process was created. Something else to think about with that, going back and getting that loan on that property, there was a loan to value number that you had to hit.
Right.
The loan to value number is a number that I wanted as a note investor to make sure you had skin in the game. So if you do decide to default, I have a way of being able to dispose of the property.
Right.
So again, that's where that connection is between paper and the real property.
Right.
So just wanted to kind of give you that so that you kind of understand. You know the business. You've been involved in the business.
Just on the other side of the fence.
Just on the other
right?
side.
Yeah.
Something else that just sort of flashed in my head. When you bought the property, and this is where it gets to be really fun to be a note investor. You bought this property and you have a cash flow number, a cash flow target. You want $200, $400, $500, whatever, $600 per door. Of the investment, 60% of your cash flow goes to the bank.
Yes.
It comes to me.
As the bank of the note.
I'm the bank. So I like that.
Right.
Unfortunately, that 60% that you don't get to keep, it comes to the bank.
Right.
So anyway, that's where that's a connection between the real property and the note.
Right.
One of the other things that happens when we are looking at our investments, just like with a real estate investor, we look at the type of property. Is it single family? Is it multifamily? Excuse me. We look at the property condition. We look at the location. We look at the price. We look at the state that it's in. All that stuff still applies.
Yes.
So the stuff that you use when you're evaluating a property to buy it, we use that same criteria to evaluate, do we want the note?
Right.
So we're not going to buy a note in a place, in a city that's declining.
Right.
We're not going to buy
People
a
are
note
migrating out, right? People
where
are
people
migrating.
are abandoning homes. We're not going to buy those
Right.
notes.
Right.
Because as a property investor, would you buy that piece of property?
Right.
And if you wouldn't buy it, obviously you're not going to create a note for it, and I'm not going to buy that note.
Right.
So again, there's a connection of stuff that is just being applied to another segment of the real estate business.
Exactly.
One of the things that you worry about as a real estate investor, and we talked about it, is tenants. I'm not worried about the tenants.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm worried about the real estate investor. I'm worried about the borrower. Who are they?
Right.
I want to know their credit report. I want to know their payment history. I want to know that they pay back the money because I am buying that loan. I want to see that they pay back their debts.
Right.
Now,
Right.
if the tenants don't pay you, you still got to pay the bank.
Right.
So I want to make sure that you're good with paying us off. One of the things that you have to worry about if you own a piece of real estate is maintenance. I talked about my toilets story. I don't have to worry about toilets. I really don't care about the toilets. So we're not, maintenance is not an issue for us. It's not something that we have to think about.
And they will not call you for that. You don't have to worry about that middle of the night phone call for a plugged toilet.
I
So
don't have to hop in my truck and drive 60 miles to unplug a
exactly.
toilet.
Right, right.
While you're doing that, I'm having a nice glass of Cabernet.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Going, I'm glad I'm not doing that anymore. you
It,
know,
it it sounds insignificant, but it really is peace of mind.
yeah,
Um, because especially if you've had the experience of being a landlord
yeah,
and having tenants who seem to find a way to call you in the middle of the night for whatever reason, um, making the switch from that to mortgage notes, it is peace of mind knowing that you're getting the same kind of reward and return on your investment as you would with a rental property, but you don't have to worry about that, even the anticipation of that call coming in for whatever reason.
no, no, not at all. So no issues of tenants. I know that I have a borrower that was qualified, very qualified, um, great FICO score, great payment history. Um, you know, I know that they're going to make their payments. They
Their
were
payment
vetted.
history demonstrates they're going to make their payment, right?
Yeah,
You can
yeah,
see the history over the last 12 months or more of not only do they pay, but when they pay, right?
yeah.
So you can pretty much tell what
Predict
time
it.
it is by the clock about when they're going to pay, right?
Yep,
So
yep.
um, there's a different level of not, I don't want to say commitment, but for you as a person that's investing in the know, there's a different level of not worrying about whether or not you're going to get paid. It's like clockwork in
Mhm.
regards to when people pay and why they
Yep,
pay, who they
absolutely,
are.
absolutely. Um, so that's again things that that- something you're familiar with. It's less of an issue on this side of the house. One other thing that is kind of something some of you may be familiar with: property managers. If you own, as I do, properties in a number of different places, in some states, I have property managers that are managing those for me. In this space, we don't have to worry about the property managers. We do use a loan mortgage servicing company that collects the payments and does all of the paperwork and, tax filings and stuff like that. But we're not concerned about, you know, did the property manager get a tenant in there in a timely manner? Those kinds of things. That's not something that's important to us. So it's one less headache that we don't have on this side of the note investing of the real estate.
And the expense of having a property manager.
True, true.
Um,
Um,
I cringe at the thought of having to invoke a property manager to go out to the properties. I use a different method, but there was a time when I did.
yeah,
And, I already knew. You already know. It's like if you
yeah,
have to call a plumber, you already know.
yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah. So we don't have those issues, which is a good thing. Um, and again, we don't have to worry about people not paying the rent and all of the 10,000 excuses that people have for why they couldn't pay. On our side of the house, when we look at a note, we often talk about there are only three things that can happen. Before I get into
right.
the three things that can happen with a note, if you think about owning real estate and the real estate and owning real property, there's an endless list of issues and things that can happen. We talked about, tenants not paying. We talked about the maintenance. We talked about the management companies and all of the sub things that can happen with those. Tenants, every tenant that you've ever seen has had a problem with their bank account getting stolen.
Yeah.
you know, you know, they're the list of things is really long with why I can't pay the rent this month. On our side of the house, there are only three things that can happen. Borrower's going to pay as they agreed, pay as the contract said, they're going to pay it off early. And those two are the things that happen 99% of the time. And then
Exactly.
the final thing is they may fail to pay. And if they fail to pay, again, there are only three things that can happen. We work with them and get them back to paying. We work with them to modify their loan or get them they pay off the loan early. Or finally, we get the house, we repossess it or foreclose on it, and we sell it back in the open market. Those are the
Right.
only three things that can happen.
And so just like you may have to go through an eviction process, instead of the eviction, you're going through foreclosure,
Yes.
which is, for the concept of correlating the two types of experiences, in the end, with the eviction, you may not get your money. You may not get back due rent, right?
Sure.
And then the expenses that are involved in trying to remove the tenant, right? With the process of doing or executing foreclosure, if it should ever to get, because it's a small percentage when it gets to that place, but you're reimbursed for your fees in which it took to have to bring this to fruition, as well as any back pay that was owed is also reimbursed to you as a note holder from the auction of the foreclosure. So that's also a different kind of benefit that you can receive as a note investor, as opposed to being the landlord of property and working with difficult tenants.
Agreed. And I'm glad you brought that up because, I've failed to state before that, oh, by the way, the big difference between an eviction and a foreclosure is eviction, all you get is the keys.
Right. That's it. And your house, hopefully, is in still one piece, but
Well, you get the keys in a dirty house
yeah. So
with holes in the walls.
yeah.
With the foreclosure, you get all of your expenses are reimbursed. So
Right. Right.
um, those are the contrasts, and that's what we wanted to try to share with you today, to kind of wrap a bow around this and summarize it. Mortgage notes are an alternative real estate investment. You can invest in hard real estate, in real property, or you can invest in the paper. We own paper. We like to own paper, and it has a lot of really good benefits. Owning property, you have a lot of other things that come along with it that you don't have to worry about here. One of the
It's time consuming. I mean,
absolutely.
it's time. It's a lot of effort. It's a lot of checks and balances. You have to meet county requirements in regards to, do you meet the standard to rent your property? There's a lot that's involved for one rental property that you've purchased, whether or not you can still make that kind of return that you're looking for on the door that you have purchased to rent. And if I sound like I'm talking from a personal experience, I am. But there are times I got halfway through the project and thought to myself, "What am I doing? Where all in the end to get a couple of $100 that is surplus to after what I've paid the bank." Right. So
Absolutely. Yeah. And, to kind of wrap it up, I think there are three magical benefits to investing in mortgage notes.
let's have it.
One of the things that is kind of crazy that you don't think about is you can scale your portfolio very, very quickly.
Yes.
One of the big differences between investing in paper and investing in property, it's not unreasonable to buy 50 or 100 notes in a year.
Absolutely.
Try to buy that many houses in a year.
Absolutely.
It's not going to happen.
No.
And banks aren't even going to lend you money for more than 5.
Right. Because you have to have this season period, right? So, no, absolutely. You can scale very readily. And we have a strategy at First Shield Financial that we help people who are interested in scaling their portfolio to that kind of a level of stacking their notes. Imagine 50
Yeah.
times a couple of hundred a month.
Yeah.
That's a different kind of growth with wealth strategy than the rental
True.
properties.
True.
I'm sorry.
And
Go ahead. What's the
yeah,
second one?
yeah, and just to finish up on that one, it's not uncommon for us to buy 10, 20, 30 notes at a time.
That's right. It's not.
That's what
And
we do.
again, that's what we do.
The other thing that you can do with notes, and this is going to be a whole different podcast. This is something that you can't do with. Well, I guess you can kind of do it with real property. We can sell off payments.
Yeah.
It's called partials, and this is a teaser for a future podcast.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's
This
sort
is
of like renting a room out in your house, if you will, to obtain. That's the
yeah,
closest correlation I can
yeah,
get.
the closest I can come up with is subletting. It's like
Right.
short-term
Right.
rentals or something like that. But yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
we can sell payments
Yes.
and get a lump sum of cash today to do whatever.
Yes.
And that's like the greatest thing since sliced bread. But again, that's another podcast.
Okay. We'll do another podcast on that
I'm
one.
saying that people are coming back. It's like, what do you mean you can sell payments?
Yeah. Right. But
I
it's
was,
great. It's
yeah,
great.
I was explaining a deal last night about that, and it was sort of like, no, that can't be.
Yeah. Right.
That does sound too good to be true. But you
Right.
can sell payments. And then finally, the biggest difference, I don't have any tenants. I don't have any maintenance. I have no midnight calls. I know when my phone rings at 1:00 in the morning, I do not answer.
Right. There's no
My
need to.
thinking is I can wait until the morning to find out the bad news.
That it was spam.
No, I can wait until the morning to find out that you burned down the house.
Yeah.
I don't need to know tonight.
That'd be
So
great.
that's the biggie. So those three things. You can scale quickly. You can sell payments, which is just the most incredible thing since sliced bread. And you don't have to worry about termites, tenants,
Trash,
trash.
toilets. Yeah.
So that's what I wanted to say today, Kim. So
No, this was good because I think that if we can just help people draw the dotted line from, there people are already doing this. A
yeah,
large majority of people are already investing in notes, but you're investing in your note via being a landlord, right? Because you're looking for your return to come from your tenant to pay the note that is on the property that you purchased.
yeah,
Instead, you don't have to buy the property. You just want to buy the note and have the borrower pay you for the note, and you get the surplus for that which is not due, right?
yeah. You
And you
get
can
the biggest
stack.
benefit.
Yeah, you can stack these notes quickly. And we have a way of doing that readily. People are amazed. We've had note investors that have bought maybe one or two note in a year's time, and they join our investment group, and in less than 30 days they're sitting with at least 20.
And it's like, how did that happen?
They don't know what happened.
Yeah. When you told me that, I thought you were lying. It's like,
Right. So
gotta buy more.
we got to buy more. That's the other thing. You have to buy more, but don't get stuck there.
Yeah, 20 is not enough.
Yeah,
When you
right.
have
So
financial security and financial freedom, you don't have enough notes.
right. So yes, this is fabulous. So if you'd like to learn more about that, please contact us. Let us know. You can certainly reach out to us via our website at firstshieldfinancial.com. And our investment group is a lively group that we meet, once a week, and it's an opportunity to really become a sophisticated investor in notes, and see, the benefit of being a note investor. We enjoy it, even though we are the people who are leading it, but we love it. We love it. And so I don't want to get too much off of a tangent there, but we welcome, even if you want to just explore, you just have some questions, you want to see what this is about, if this is for you, we welcome that discussion as well. I don't have anything more. Thank you, Jerry. Of course, as always, the Kim and Jerry podcast would just not be anything, without your insight. So I'm grateful for you. All right. Take care. Till next time.
Thanks.
All righty.
Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Okay.
And that wraps up another episode of the Kim and Jerry podcast, brought to you by First Shield Financial, your trusted partner in cash flow investing. If you found value in today's discussion on mortgage note and passive real estate strategies, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, connect with the Shield, and stay in the loop for our upcoming opportunities and episodes packed with even more insights and inspiration.